So we're going to look at, from the homework assignment, question 1 under partial variations. Just as a review, we know that partial variations always follow the following formula. Y equals F plus Kx, where Y is your dependent variable, F is some fixed value, X is your independent, and K is some constant number that's being multiplied by that independent variable. Question 1. The amount of time required to roast a turkey is 30 minutes plus an additional 45 minutes per kilogram. So let's identify what our dependent variable is, what our fixed rate is, what our K value is, and what our independent variable is. The easiest thing to spot out right now is that 30 minutes. We know that it's fixed at 30 minutes because that is something that's the same for every situation. When we want to find out what the next one we want to figure out is what's our dependent and what's our independent variables. Well, if you think about it, the time it takes or the total amount of time depends on how big the turkey is. So we know that the time is dependent upon how big the turkey is, the weight. I'm going to choose variables. I'm going to say t. And we know that the time is in minutes from the question. And the weight, I'm going to give a variable of w. Now the only thing that's left in the question is that 45 minutes. And we say that it's an additional 45 minutes per kilogram. So 45 is multiplied by our independent, which is our weight. So for every 1 kilogram, it's an additional 45 minutes to cook. So if we follow this formula here, we're going to have something that looks like this. Something, our dependent, equals a fixed amount plus the K value times the independent. So I'm going to say this is where your dependent goes, this is where your F goes, this is where your K goes, and this is where your independent goes. Now we have all those values here, so we just need to plug them in. So we know our dependent is time, so we're going to put T there. We know our F is 30. We know that our K value is 45. And we know that our I value, or our independent variable, is W. Something to note here, your D's and your I's are always going to be letters. And your F's and your K's are always going to be numbers. That's just something to look out for. So this right here is actually our formula that we're going to deal with. T equals 30 plus 45W. So that's part of A. The next up, we want to make a graph. Now, whenever we make a graph, we have to make a table of values. And so the table of values is going to be based on this equation right here. So I'm going to make my table of values. The first row is always your independent. Your second row is always going to be your independent. So it's weight and time in minutes. And your weight in kilograms. Now I can just randomly pick numbers for the independent variable. So I'm just going to pick easy ones. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So now what I need to do is I need to put in those W's into this equation here so that I can figure out how much time. And so that's going to be, all of our calculations are going to be based on this equation right here. So if I say if W equals 1, I know that T is going to equal 30 plus 45, and usually I would write W, but I'm substituting the 1 in for here. So instead of writing W, I'm going to put 1 because I'm finding out when W equals 1. Then I just simply add, multiply these two things together and then add 30. 45 times 1 is 45, plus 30 is 75. Let's do it with if W equals 2. We have T equals 30 plus 45, and this time the W equals 2, so we're going to substitute 2. And again, everything is based off of here. I'm just copying this equation exactly, substituting for the W. So then T equals 30 plus 45 times 2 is 90. 30 plus 90 is 120. If W equals 3, T equals 30 plus 45 times 3, T equals 45 times 3 plus 30 is 165. And we know that it's in minutes. If W equals 4, T equals 30 plus 45 times 4, T equals 210. If W equals 5, T equals 30 plus 45 times 5, T equals 45 times 5 plus 30 is 225. So then what I do is I just find out, I just match these things up. So if W equals 1, T equals 75. So underneath the 1, I'm going to write 75. If W equals 2, T equals 120. 120. If W equals 3, T equals 165. If W equals 4, T equals 210. If W equals 5, T equals 225. So now we have our table of values here, and I'm going to draw you a nice little graph based on these things. So then to draw your graph, what you want to do is you want to set up, I'm using graph paper here, I don't know if that's showing up well. So what you want to do is you want to draw something that looks like this. We know that our x-axis, the horizontal line, is always going to be our in-depth. And we know that our y-axis is always going to be dependent. So that means the independent variable is weight. So I'm going to write weight here in kilograms. And my chart only goes up to 5, so I'm just going to do up to 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now I know that the time in minutes goes all the way up to 225. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to go up by increments of 25. So each tick mark is going to be 25. Oh, no, this guy right here is 75, 100, 125, 150, 175, 200, 225, 250. Now I don't need to go much further than that because I know that it just goes up to 225 here. So when the weight is 1 kilogram, my time is 75. So I'm going to go up here and make a mark, go up 1, and then make sure that it's in line with the 75. 2, it's 220, so I'm going to find 225 and just make it a little bit less. Okay. 3 is going to be is going to be 165. So here's 175 and 50. So I'm going to kind of go in between those two. Like there. 4 is 210. So it's just going to be a little bit over, it's going to be a little bit above 200. And I know that 5 is going to be bang on 225. So I'm going to follow this line here that I have marked out for 225. Go all the way up here, like that. And this is your line. They should match up pretty nicely. I missed my line a little bit, but you get the idea. So that's my graph. This goes up forever. We can add the arrows like that. We want to make sure that we're labeling, oops, I forgot this one. So time in minutes. So we want to make sure that we're we're making a lineup. We want to make sure that we're labeling both axes. Okay? There's one last part of the question, and that is B part. How much would an 8-minute, oh sorry, wrong question. How much time would it take to roast a turkey that weighs 8.5 kilograms? B. So we know that our W, our independent, is 8.5. So then I'm just going to copy this. T equals 30 plus 45, hopefully you can see that, yeah, 45 W, but we know that the W is 8.5, so I'm just going to substitute that in. So T equals 30 plus 45, not W, but 8.5, 45 times 8.5 plus 30, if you do that on your calculator, you should get 412.5, and that's in minutes. The question's done.